The views expressed during this program are not necessarily those of Wise Q95 FM radio. Wise Q95 FM radio has not been able to independently verify the factual correctness or the allegations and statements made during the course of this program and cannot vouch for their accuracy. Therefore, Wise Q95 FM radio will not accept any responsibility or liability for the statements or allegations made in the course of this program.
All right, folks. Good evening, one and all. Yes, we are here this evening for the CCM program, Patriot Voices on Cue for yet another Friday. Right, and we like we told you before, we're only having two programs every month. All right, so today is the 29th day of November, so our next program will be in 2 weeks' time. That will be on the 13th of December. So please keep this in mind. It will not be next Friday, it will be the following one. All right. So good evening, folks. I'm happy to be here. I'm not sure if the president will join me. I've not heard from him, but I think his telephone had some issues. So I'm really not sure if he's going to be here this evening. But nonetheless, we have other persons that we're going to link up about 6:25, 6:30 thereabout. So we'll be with Dr. Dion George and our dear brother, he said Lloyd. All right. Miss Marceline Edwards was supposed to be with us this evening, but unfortunately, she's unable to make it. But she too was also supposed to be with us this evening. All right, folks. So this evening we're going to touch on a few topics. Nothing heavy, just have some discussions and a few things. We won't be having this spiritual message this evening, which is Fidel Valentine has already so indicated. So we won't be having it. And we have not had the opinion page as well for some time. So this evening is of likewise, there will be no opinion page. But we'll be having a little discussion on the crime in Dominica, crime rate in Dominica. We were talking about the economic status of Dominica before and now, what it used to be and what it is now. We also talk about the abuse of state resources. And recently we had quite a lot of discussion about that, so we can also touch on it as well. And of course, our electoral reform discussions will never end. We want it to be put it back on the front burner. We realize that it has gone a bit cold, so we need to CCM needs to put it back on the front burner. All right. So with these few topics, we should be able to handle them in the next say, hour and a half, 2 hours to the 8 o'clock hour. All right. So I think by now you also know who's on the line now. It's John Blanchard. I'm your host for tonight's program, and I'm happy to be on the Concerned Citizens Movement program, Patriot Voices on Q. And so, wherever you are listening from, with Capuchino, Cassie, Bruce Maricourt, wherever, Portsmouth, Lapwet, wherever, we welcome you on board. But before we do anything, we always welcome the good Lord in our midst, and then we will go to the greetings list, then the roll call, and by that time we should have our two brothers, Zed Lloyd and Dion George, on the line with us so we can continue the discussions. All right, so please take a listen at this time.
Down on my knees, I found my Jesus.
All right, let me just call out my greetings list quickly. I know a lot of you have not heard the name in a very long time, and so let me just give you the usual shout outs, right, on our program this evening. First and foremost, of course, is my little princess, Kimaya, and her mom, of course, Ketika, Auntie May at Salisbury, Delbert Blanchard and his wife in St. Martin, Bibian, Auntie Martha at Tarish Spitz, to have Jennifer Christopher, Brother Angelo Allen, Evan Long and family, Mr. Foy and family in Kolibistri. I also want to say good evening to Rash Joseph, John, Mrs. Ernestine Pelty, that's Matt's mother, Mrs. Jennifer Taffy. And let's not forget that normally I would be calling the name Francilia Isaac Belgerol. Unfortunately, I can't do that tonight because she died last week, I believe, the 24th of November, I believe it was, yes. That's about a week ago. And so let me take this time off to extend my condolences to the family members of Mrs. Francilia Isaac of Belverol, whom I usually refer to as my little granny. Likewise, Granny by State. So these are my two little grannies. I always give them a shout out. She passed away, I think, on the 24th of November at the age of 91. And she was also the aunt of one of our group members, David C. Joseph. And so I want to express my condolences publicly to Mr. Joseph, which I did before privately. So to all her children, her 11 children, I was told that she had 11 children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, her sisters and so on, a caregiver. Please accept our condolences on my behalf and also on the behalf of CCM, all right? And let me also express condolences to the family members and friends of the young lady who lost her life at Silver Lake and all other persons who lost their loved ones over the last couple of weeks or so, all right? So let's continue my greetings list. We also have John, we have Ms. Jennifer Zappi, Mr. Christian Impuri, Ras Brigo, Ide Faswa, the Tegas man, our brother Dorian, Mr. Victor Louis and his wife, Milton Blanchard, aka Kawe, with you guys. Also Cyrus Raphael, better known as Sindo. We have brother James and Daru, Mr. Lawin and Laville, Martin John Baptist, aka Do, Alison Pelty, that's Lover Girl, and Lover Girl in Boston and New York. Roy Tavernier, Sandra Smith on the daughter Cressida. Akela, Dana, Jessica, Noelle Michelle, Kalunda, Manu, all these guys from Parish Pit, Judith Dover from Gutter Village, good evening to you. Our CCM members, just to name a few: Susanna Rule, Maureen, Mr. Lee Robinson, Lofty, Earl, Bruno, Zah, Emmanuel, Dr. Dion George, Mary Bowie, Arundel Thomas, Bob Marley, Joel Joseph, David C. Joseph, all of these guys are members. We have about 25 or so members in the group, so I won't call all, but just to name a few of them. All right, to the good doctors, of course, Dr. Thompson Fountain, Dr. Dale Dangleben, Dr. Sam Christian, Reverend Pascal Little Ricketts, Reverend Andre, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Hendricks Paul, to my friend Jade Woodman, also have Edith Abraham in the USA, Val Ferry, Mindy on High Street, Timeless Queen, Vivi, our flower girl, Sally from Warner. We have Jeremy from Tyree Street, Morris, Sandra Sylvester, better known as Missan, Robinson Charles of Campbell, and Angel and Abigail. Dr. Marigot, Ivan Nicholas, Scott said, Dion Philbert, Brian Linton, Tony Caesar family, Totola, Ronald Marie, Merlin, Bruno, Ivani Underwood from Salisbury, but they live in Georgia, USA. The Moon Seven guys, Buju and others, Fafa, Malonita, going to you, Malonits, hope you're doing okay. Agafa Samuel, better known as Carrot, the Bruno family in Port Michelle, John Frompton, Mapower, Janice, or Hilmer Bruno, Margaret, Craig, Tony, the Raven area. At Lord Bow, we have Bishop, Aubrey and Lubier. I know he's always locked in and keep asking when is the show. Shirley Alan, of course. Papa Pali, the Blue, the regulars. We have the family member to Mr. Ralph Blackwell in Loda. Myrna Louise, that's a big pot lady. Good evening to you. Myrna, Nerika T, Jessica, my good old friend. Norman Shillingford, the African brother. Mrs. Dorian Francis and Auntie Betsy, no, Bessie, Auntie Bessie in Bath Estate. Of course, that's my second little granny as well. Hope you're doing okay. Fano up there, Lapwet, Lister George, Zed Lloyd, Blessings, Michael Coupel. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Ozzy Lewis in Emsall. Good evening to you guys. Hope you are doing okay. Tyrant Yofield, Anthony Scotland. We have all our nurses, doctors, lawyers, our post officers, our fire officers. This is John. We have this Nomad Rampel down in the project area. You and your husband. Good evening to you guys. And I do hope that the government will pay you for your land very soon. Norman, New Jersey. Richard in Goodhope. You have Yolanda, Rui, and a mom, Patricia. Added Paul, Olivia Philogen. Oh boy, this list is getting longer and longer. I also say good evening to our scribe. Wherever you are, sir, good evening to you. And of course, Mrs. Hermina Vidal, Valentine. That's our spiritual message lady. Unfortunately, she can't do it tonight, but we are very happy and grateful for what you're doing for us. And it's good evening to Mr. Benjamin, I believe it is. I spoke to this gentleman yesterday in the Cotton Hill area in Portsmouth. Yeah, I was doing some field work yesterday, and gave me some directions to a gentleman. So thank you, sir, and I know that you are locked in. So good evening to you and your family. All right. Now, President has just walked into the studio. Mr. Washburn Coffee. Like I told you earlier on, I'm not sure whether he would have been on the program because he has some issues with his telephone, so I could not make contact. But of course, he's here in person, and so let me just put on your mic, Washby, number 2, so you could just say hi and hello to the friends. Go ahead.
Yes, well, good night, Brother John. I hope you can hear me. I
Yes,
hope
loud and clear.
the listeners can hear me loud and clear. And let me, of course, say good night to all our valued listeners out there on a Friday night. Patriot Voices on Q. We are glad to have you with us, and especially tonight, there is a lot to look at. And of course, let me apologize. I think I took a, should I call it a commercial break or independence break?
Or sabbatical or something.
Yeah, I have not been on the program for a few episodes, but I'm here. I'm notwithstanding, I've always listened to the program, and I know you, John, have been doing a great job. You continue to do a great job on behalf of CCM to wholly console and to ensure that while not regularly, weekly, but that we can continue to have our program at least on a fortnightly basis. For that matter, John, I have been meeting, our listeners, the patriots out there, as I walk through the city, as I walk through the boroughs and the villages. And people are very in tune to our program. And I think they recognize the need. I've been seeking their support, but as you know, things are a bit stretched with many people these days. But a lot of people, and from a wide spectrum, I think, of the citizenry. For that matter, John, I admitted even policemen, who are saying, you guys are doing a good job and keep on the good work. They recognize that we are doing this not for ourselves, but for the interest and for the benefit of our dear country, the Commonwealth of Dominica. So there is a lot to look up to. There is still hope, while we know that there are a lot of constraints, there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of difficulties to overcome. And compounded with that is the serious, incompetent management of the affairs of the Commonwealth of Dominica. This compounds the problem to another level. And people, I believe, have recognized the need for a change of stewardship, John.
Yep.
I think I need to underline that.
That's correct.
In my opening remarks. So there is a lot to look up to, and I can only encourage the Dominican citizenry to be steadfast, to be serious, to be strong, and to persevere. There must be perseverance. Yes, I know at some point in time, you could arrive at a point of frustration. But however, there is hope, and by the grace of the good Lord, as of our spiritual messenger, Mrs. Valentine would say, there is hope in the Lord. So let's hope we can persevere and achieve in the interests of the Commonwealth of Dominica. But let me, I know you're on the greetings line, but it was necessary for me to make that underlying opening remark. But obviously, I just want to shout out a few people. I sure a lot of my fans have been missing me. I first of all want to shout out my wife in Wallhouse and my children, wherever they may be, in Fort Lauderdale, in Barbados now, and in St. Croix. I hope they're listening to me, and want to shout them out. Of course, all my sisters. Just visited one of my sister who has been here since independence, Miss Annette Carter. Glad to have her around for an extended period. All my sisters in Brooklyn, Philadelphia, just shouting you out, Long Island. All my brothers in Warner, in Trinidad and Tobago, and not forgetting my 94-year-old uncle, Theodil Confi in Loubier, who always remind me that he hasn't heard me for a while. So, uncle, I giving you a big shout. I expect that you and your friend would be at the domino table, glued to your telephone. So I giving you a big shout out tonight, and I hope I can visit you very soon. Yes, of course, want to shout out all my friends, patriots in Mont Jean River, Siri Grand Forge, Jenny Matthew, Jules Pascal, Mr. and Mrs. Leslie, Bo Louis, Martin Lockhart, my good partner and family, Tinom in River Siri, DC, John George, our good friends in Monjon, Ozzy, Andy Matthew, and Claudette Lockhart, Jim Cadet, and Capitan, all of those in Monjon. Big up to you in Monjon. We'll see you soon. Of course, our friends in Kulibistri who always listen to us. From time to time, I give them a shout down there, and they always feel good, that our programs speak to their situations and their problems in Kulibistri. This has been a forgotten place by the establishment following serious storms prior to Hurricane Maria, and even compounded by Hurricane Maria. We haven't seen the kind of development. I personally would go to my grandfather's farm with my cousin Becky in Bukusu, but there is no road, so I cannot get my Baba Ule yam and harvest my grandfather cuckoo and so on, so tremendous problems for the people in Kulibistri. So I want to shout out Marilyn James, the Foy family, the Loaders, which are part of my family down in Kulibistri, the Josephs, the Rudets, the Larocks, Chillingford, my good buddy Renef, my good old friend Morrill Daniel. Hope I can see you soon, and I hope you're doing well. My partners, Becky and you two, and Morrison, who have asked me to shout him, not forgetting Wilson and family, Wadi and John Foy, and all of you down there on the West Coast. I have families in Salisbury, in Corleone, in Bioche, in Dublin. So I want to shout out all of you on the West Coast in a very special way. And of course, we have our good old partner, Jammers, who I see regularly these days. Jammers, hope you're listening tonight. Mr. Philbert, in Murphy's Lane. I haven't seen you for a while, but I expect you to be doing well. Shian, Elo's Bar on Independence Street. And of course, especially on behalf of our vice president, we always need to say and shout out our sister program on Q, Sibo and Oz. Well, Ozzy is not there, but his spirit lives on with the program. Of course, Lander, Dr. Fontaine, who have joined that program, and not forgetting Low Black. I want to shout all of you sports rap crew, and I'm doing that especially on behalf of our vice president. Yes, shout out all the CCM members, the Munsewe crew. I have been engaging with the Munsewe crew and their concerns there, but I think the best way we have to deal with that is through discourse and all-inclusive Munsewe. So if you are hearing me, be giving you your shout, and for us to really really come together in a serious way to do what is necessary for Dominica. Our women, Rosie Pax, women, Rosie Felix and her crew there, the NJAM crew, all the patriots in the diaspora or Carib territory family. I was told I should not say the Carib territory. I was advised by a listener that I should say the Kalinago. So I will be crossing out Carib territory, and I will be, from now on, continue to refer to you, the people from Kalinago, the Barry family, Kitchener-Laville, and others, the Sanford family, all of you up there, giving you a big shout out tonight. So I think, yeah, and of course, all our friends, I think Sharon and Freely and Sambo in Pottersville have asked me not to forget them. So I want to shout especially Sharon and Freely and all the Point Michelle crew, Melvinas, Vincent, Lilia, and others. Hope everybody is doing fine. And I hope you continue as usual to listen to your favorite valued program on Q, the Patriot Voices on Q.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. President. Very extensive listen indeed. All right, I suppose we also just make contact with our friends and folks out there. All right, it's now 6:51. I'm going to open the lines for just about 4 minutes. And as soon as I see either Dr. George, so I think there's someone already. Zed is there, so let me try to add on Zed. And we'll take a few quick calls in the interim. All right, so please take a listen while we take a roll call.
I'm gonna hold on to Jesus, hold to the Lamb of Calvary. I'm gonna hold on to Jesus, and Jesus will hold on to me. In this troubled world we live in, nothing seems to make sense. Many looking.
Good evening, Corey. Right, thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen. How you all doing?
I'm fine, and you?
Good night.
Yeah,
Welcome.
with the okay. Listen, waiting to listen. We have a heavy session this afternoon. We're not gonna have a heavy, stupid session like that
No,
tonight.
not at all.
Okay.
Not at
Have
all.
a good night. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Brother said, can you hear us? Brother said, Lloyd.
Yeah, yeah. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you,
All right.
brother.
All right. Good. Let's take another two more calls and then we'll be on with you. Good
Yeah,
evening,
man.
caller.
One
Right.
love.
Thank you.
Yeah, say good evening, although you missed my name.
Oh, I missed your name. No, I think I called the name, didn't I?
No, you skip it.
You sure?
It's, it's, it's after the one in that just there was a name Sapale
Okay. Yeah, you might be right.
and it was skip. Let
Okay.
me let me ask let me
We
ask Copy.
apologize. We are so sorry.
Hello, let me ask Copy a question there.
Real quick.
Copy, there is a young fella, a red skin fella from River City. He's a Coffee. My good friend. I have not seen him for years. To me, they told me he was at the hospital sometime. He's a Coffee.
Well, we have a lot of red skin coffees, you know.
Yes, I used to tell him they will cut his neck with gold chain and his wrist and all those things there. I just can't remember his first name.
All right. When you remember, call back.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me just also pick up my partner down there in Buffet State. At least Irish, as a cool out man. I know he's always locked in, so let me say hi to him. All right. Brother Step Lloyd.
Greetings, brother. Greetings to the listeners. Greetings, brother George.
I have not seen Dr. Dion George, so I'm looking at the screen.
Uh,
As soon as he appears, I will add him onto the.
Welcome, Brother Zed.
yeah, welcome, brother. Welcome.
All right. I think you should be aware of what we're going to discuss this evening, but just to reiterate, we want to touch on a few critical topics tonight. Of course, the time is limited, so we'll probably have to kind of proceed a bit. But we want to talk about the crime rate in Dominica. We also want to talk about the economic status of Dominica. You could say probably before and now, what used to be probably in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, 2000, compared to what we have now. Of course, the abuse of state resources continues, and that is something we must talk about as a concerned group. And of course, electoral reform has to be on the front burner. We have a member of the ERC with us, so he might be able to give us some information, if any, as to where we are in terms of electoral reform. So, but I said, let me just welcome you to the program. I know you're always available, always willing and ready to serve. And of course, you always have some most times fair comments. I mean, we agree to disagree, like they normally say it. But generally speaking, you usually have some good contributions to the program, and so we're happy to have you on board. So, Zed, let me get your take. I'm not sure sure where you want to start. If you want to start on the crime or on the economy, it's up to you.
John, they're all related, you know. They're all
Yeah,
related.
that's correct.
I remember New York City, Giuliani. Giuliani came on the scene. Crime was way up, way up. The police, they did an onslaught of police work, and after a while realized police work alone can't cut it. You know, the
Mhm.
military alone cannot cut it. And you know, you develop the whole program involving the school and economic zones and the like and whatever, and that's what led to the transformation. So the crime thing, you know, I mean, Black Mo can shout about it and reel about it, but it's all connected to the economics. It's all connected. If the young brothers can't get jobs, more and more of them are going to do drugs. And can't get jobs, more and more of them are going to do drugs. You know, it's an issue of creating, you know, legal entitlement of sense where you go to work and you know you have a job and you can get paid. It keeps you off the street. It makes you have less intent to do illegal things. It's a bi-directional relationship, you
So you're
know.
saying there
So
that things like poverty and unemployment and so on would probably increase the crime rate in the country.
it is those things. It is those things that are aggravated that cause an increase in the crime rate. It is these kids don't just turn to crime. They turn to crime because you know situations that just get not making any sense to them. And Dominica is at that kind of state where you
Mm.
have young people just more and more, you know, postures of destitution. So
Okay.
yeah, it is related, and the government has no sound economic policy for young people.
That's
Even the NEP program, the NEP program could have been an excellent program if it was structured on you know a study. You had educational analysis, you had psychological analysis, you had economic analysis. You know, a collective of the right set of minds come together and shape a program for the development of youth. You know, but it wasn't started like that, and nothing in Dominica is ever started like that. Everything in Dominica is an overnight thing. Start unprepared, budget not made, this not that. You know, there is no science. There is no science to the government. No science. And if you don't have critical analysis and you don't see the situation factually so you can plan for it factually, you know, it's a joke. And that's what is happening in Dominica. There is no science to the development. No science. No science.
all right. So, Doctor
Mhm.
Dion George, you're on. I just added you to the convo. But someone might argue that the state of lawlessness from the top brass, for example, could also contribute to crimes. Because if you see maybe persons that are supposed to be like ministers or prime minister, probably the police and so on, you see certain things happening within the ranks, those ranks. Could that also cause the young people to probably want to be a bit more violent, more, vulnerable to crimes and so? Wouldn't you think so that Zed?
That's what I'm telling you. It's a collective. People learn through relationships. They learn through direct action. They learn through what they see. You know, and youth especially, they're very impressionable.
Okay.
So yeah, the worst impression is from those people who are supposed to be the teachers. And so what you have, the kids have, they have zoned out of politics because they have seen the hypocrisy in the system. You
All
know,
right, cool.
we as grown people, we have tempering for things, we try to understand it, but young people don't do that. As long as they see the hypocrisy, they alienate.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay. Before I move, I go to the president. I see Dr. Dion George is on. So, Doc, welcome on board. We're happy to
Yeah,
have you, and of course, we are happy that you could take time off your busy schedule to be with us this evening. We
okay.
are just discussing about the crimes in Dominica, the crime rates and the causes and so on. So, I'm not sure if you want to take a shot at it before we move on.
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to all of you,
Evening, brother. Good
inc-
evening.
including
Good
you,
evening.
Mr. John Blanchard.
Yes, a good evening to you, sir.
Yeah, and good evening to Mr. Zeb Lloyd.
Good evening, brother. Good evening.
Yeah, and also good evening to the president of CCM.
Yes, good evening, Brother George.
Yes. one of the things I would like to share is the view that what we have here on this platform is a voice, is a voice that in the United States they might call it a third party voice. It might not be a big voice, but it might be a voice that really speaks to some issues that some people feels. That's number one. The other thing concerning the crime, Mr. Blanchard, what I would say is I heard of some shootings in Silver Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I heard the lady cried out for her spouse, for her children, and I have not heard anything from the government. I mean, if you have heard, you can let me know.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. Again, I mean, I know Mr. Coffee is the president of CMM. For that,
CCM. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yes. I would say something of a shooting where it has happened twice, or one might say thrice. I find the government could say, for example, I can get involved and try to uh, intervene. I've not heard anything. I don't know.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and one might argue where these things happen. Well, it's they were involved in their thing. At the end of the day, my view as a scientist is the simple view that oh my God, intervene, intervene. I don't see why a young lady has to be shot and someone has to be killed, Mr. Blanchard, killed. I mean, Zeb Lloyd can intervene. I think someone was killed.
Mm-hmm. And not
Uh,
injured.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so there are other things I would like to talk about concerning crime. If you were to bring up the issue of crime, the issue of crime goes to what happened. Alas, please do not say that I'm taking preference to say that, but there were two people in Salisbury that got shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the government is saying that it wasn't them who shot.
Really?
Yeah,
It's crazy, man. So who shot?
I, and I put myself in some groups, and the groups I put myself in, I really thought, and I believe we can do something about it, and we have to. If you know the amount of people in Salisbury that died
Mm-hmm.
because of the expired
Oh, the gas,
tear
yep.
gas,
Mm-hmm.
you will not believe.
Mm-hmm.
But not just that, including the the live gunshots. And so my view here is simple. Um, what is my view? It's a simple view. It's the fact that I think this government has some questions to answer. So let me be very clear here. Because of where I work and because of what I do, I cannot speak openly about what I may have observed. But, sir, if one were to expose expired canisters to a sleeping village where they were children and they were elderly, for me, well, I think for anybody, I think for Mr. Coffee, I think for yourself, some questions need to be answered. And I think that should be answered. And so, on your topic as the host on the issue of crime, I think a crime was committed in Salisbury.
Oh, yes.
And on the issue of what happened in Silver Lake, I think it's happening too often. And I think there should be some. Again, I don't want to just change the topic. They're saying right now Haiti has moved from anarchy to catastrophic.
Hmm.
In other words, it's so bad right now.
Hmm.
Um, one fears that Dominica is on the brink
I hope not.
of getting to that point.
I hope not.
Yeah. So I would suggest we are not here tonight to criticize. We are not here to speak an empty voice, a voice with no solutions, with no recommendations, that we are here to criticize. The answer is no. One would purport that we are here to analyze the issue, which is the problem, and as citizens of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to give what we as concerned citizens, and that's why I like that group name, to come and say, for example, what do we propose as measures to fix those problems, including what happened in Salisbury, including what happened in Silver Lake. And one must uh, recognize that they say, so who are you to decide what should be done? Well, the answer to the question is because we are citizens.
That's correct.
We are citizens of a nation
Hmm.
and we mean well. And the reason why I will take my time off to leave my mom or to leave the work I have to do, that Zeb Lloyd would leave and Mr. Washburth Coffee would, is because we care about a nation. And where there are concerns, I believe we have a voice. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. What's with your views on the crime scenario?
Well, I will first put a caveat and say I am by no means an expert in that area, so I have to be careful with the comments that I make. But I think there is no doubt that crime is at a critical stage, in the Commonwealth of Dominica. I think it was Dr. Severin of the
Hmm.
University of the West Indies
That's right.
who alerted us to the likely adverse effects or impacts of crime based on some analysis that he had made, and he
And,
had sounded a warning,
and good blues, huh?
yeah, of where we
Yeah.
were heading
Hmm.
to as far as crime was concerned. And I think since Dr. Severin's comments, I think we have seen an increase. I mean, I talk here without figures before me, but I think one can, I mean, agree that there has been some significant increases in crimes, and especially in terms of some of the crimes that we have experienced in recent times, including um, the reference to Silver Lake, and we could as well reference what took place in Soufriere sometime last year. So and I think even at a Caribbean level, I think listening to the radio this week or last week, I think the impacts, which is some CARICOM committee on crime, and I think the CARICOM, I think there was a conference on crime, and I think various prime ministers and representatives of countries spoke to serious aspects of crime. I think I heard comments from Bahamas, from Trinidad and Tobago, from Guyana. So there seemed to be an overall concern, a regional concern as far as impacts and the CARICOM is concerned about the level of crime in the Caribbean community. So I suppose coming out of that conference, I mean, as far as solutions would be concerned, it's not just highlighting the problem, but I would want to believe that such a conference would have addressed significant solutions and action that can be taken so as to reduce the crime rate in the region on a whole. And I think at the curriculum level, they are soliciting the necessary resources from countries like even America to assist with the control of crime in the Caribbean. But I would like to see from a local level that serious increases in crime could really seek to destabilize the peace and tranquility of the country, which may have adverse effects on the economy itself, and especially tourism and tourism arrivals. If we have high crime rates that are uncontrollable, then of course we stand the risk of other countries, America, England, maybe putting certain sanctions on us with regards to their citizens visiting our country, and that could significantly and adversely impact our tourism income. So it
But
is a matter that the governments have to give serious attention to, and resources need to be put into the fight for crime. And
but
and there are disturbing situations. Like, let's take, for instance, what happened in St. Joseph with regards to the disappearance of ammunition at a police station. So many, I think this is a matter of a couple years now, and you're not even hearing any sort of
Updates, yeah.
development,
Yeah,
any
that's a
update
very, very good
as
point.
to dealing with
Yeah.
situations like
Yeah,
that, because
very good point.
this is just opening the opportunity for serious crimes to be done. So issues like that need to be given due attention. I have heard that there are police stations without police vehicles. We have heard of police stations not having not even proper tires that would enable them to facilitate visiting crime scenes and addressing serious crime situations. So there needs to be, at a national level, adequate resources allocated to fight crime.
That's correct. Yeah.
This is very good. I
Yes.
mean,
yeah,
So I would limit
point.
Yeah.
my
Point.
contribution to just that.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned very
I mean, you
pertinent
were
points,
sung,
and
very sung.
yes, very strong. Yes. Yeah,
but
so
but
you mentioned one thing. You mentioned one thing about the impact on tourism. Crime can have serious impact on tourism, and of course, in so doing, it will affect the economy, because if you have less tourists coming, as well, less economy, and that is the next topic on the agenda. Unless if you guys still have a point to make on crime, we are going to go on.
well,
Yeah, I do.
well,
Let Zeb go ahead.
uh, John,
Yes,
the issue, especially in the region, is the region is not learning from international situations or even regional situations. You take Jamaica. Jamaica has had a failed anti-crime strategy because it has been a military strategy by and large, and it has failed. You understand? And you can go across the region where that militaristic style, which is what these guys are talking about, and making an excuse for the police getting overloaded and giving all kinds of things. My brother, crime, these conditions that affect poor young people are much more effective in solving crime than militarizing the police. The data is there. They're much more effective in solving crime. And this idea that these politicians think that crime is some overnight solution, there is no overnight solution to crime, because it's not an overnight situation that caused that increase in crime in Dominica or in
yeah,
any of these countries. You
yeah,
understand? So,
yeah,
so part of the solution to dealing with crime is also the awareness that There's an allocation of time that has to, be involved in the process of solving that crime situation.
Yeah, because I just find the Dominica is just too small for us to have so many crimes. For example, I believe last year, 2023, we had about 14 homicides. I hope I'm correct, perhaps more, but I figure at least 14. And for 2024, I think it's already probably 11 or 12 thereabouts. And the data before me, in 2021, according to the World Bank, the international homicide rate in Dominica in 2021 was 13.81 per 100,000 people. And I find that to be very high for a small country. Now, we don't have 100,000 people, so if we have to prorate it to 70,000, we're looking at about 9.6. And that to me is still very high for a small country like Dominica. But talking about it is not going to solve it. So I believe a lot needs to be done. But as to, are we going to ask the government to fix it? I don't believe these guys have the ability to do anything whatsoever. So talking about the government really and truly should just be a no-no. The only way out is for these guys to get out and let fresh blood come in and do something to move that country forward. They
If I
can't
may,
help. They can't help.
Mr. Blanchard, if I may, I want to give credence to the comments that Mr. Coffee made and that Mr. Z. Lloyd made, because they both touch on important things. Uh, I would like to say 2 points here. One, the first one is the view that, you know, Haiti is in a disparable state where you have citizens with guns, where the police literally cannot take care of business. So they have some Kenyan forces. I'm not changing your agenda. I'm
Yeah,
just,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, where they have some Kenyan forces, over 400 militants. They have some persons from Jamaica, Brazil, and so forth. And but the view that is going on right now is the view that they really. So there was a United Nations meeting, perhaps yesterday, thereabout, and the U.S. proposed to have a peacekeeping, and China said no, and Russia said no. And their view were is that what peacekeeping you're going to put in Haiti? When you have militants, people, and again, we don't. I always say this to you: we don't have enough time to deal with all these things. But the bottom line is what Russia and China is saying. This has been going on for too long. Is either we send forces in here and establish a government, or will it then kill themselves?
Ready.
But the idea for peacekeeping, it will not work. Peacekeeping means that the soldiers who come would not engage. And so, in our case, in our beautiful country, Dominica, and again, I want this program to be, Mr. Coffee, you can agree with me, is a view that we do not want our country to get to that point.
Absolutely.
Because the sort of horrendous crimes I'm hearing that happen in Sufuye, where persons have been killed and burnt and thrown in what they call fallas, and they are getting bail, and ministers are saying, yes, bail them. I think this is something is concerning. That's my view. I don't know how you see it.
Accuse them? Accuse them.
I said alleged there.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
just before we leave the topic, I think we need to look at another aspect of crime, which has to do with what white collar crime and some of what is happening in terms of governance in this country, because when you're talking about destabilization and getting the people frustrated to a point where you could have anarchy in the country, this has to be properly managed and be preceded by good governance. If you have a situation where the governance is such that you believe the government is always trying to pull a one or two on the people. And you have situations like what has happened in terms of the abuse of state resources with regards to a vehicle for the children of the prime minister. This is another serious aspect of crime which must be taken on board and into consideration, because this is the types of crime that could drive the citizens to a level of frustration and create destabilizing situation in a country. So we mustn't overlook that aspect of crime. I just wish to throw that into the discussion.
Yeah. All right, guys, we have to move on. It's already 7 o'clock, and we have been on that topic for some time. The next topic that we have to discuss tonight is the economy, and of course, we can also make it brief because we've been touched on the other topics as well. Anyone of you guys can start off. I think I want to give you guys most of the talking tonight. So I had a very rough week. I've been not in the talking mood tonight. So anyone of you guys can take
Well,
it
well,
further.
well. On if I might, I can shoot out on the aspect of the economy and still link that up to what we have been discussing in relation to crime. I don't want to bring us back to crime, but we see a linkage between crime and the economy.
It must.
Is how they say it, a chicken and egg
Yeah, it
situation.
must have a connection between them.
You understand? And even in the Silver Lake situation, for instance, I some years ago was involved as a liaison officer working on a poverty alleviation project. It was a OECS project involving a Trinidad um, firm doing the consultancy, and the ministry. There was a focal point established in one of the ministries, and certain areas were identified for interventions, including Silver Lake, Bagatelle, Sinuku in the Carib Territory, Woodford Hill, and so forth. And with particular reference to Silver Lake, we were able to mobilize a group of persons, especially young ladies in Silver Lake. This lady, Gloria Walsh from Bath Estate, she was very instrumental in the development of that project. And we conceptualized a project where we would have established a sort of incubator facility right within the Silver Lake area to provide business opportunities for some of the persons there based on the skills they had that could lend to the development of the tourism industry. And that project was developed. The PAL rep had it, the Senator Josiah Binoa had it, the Prime Minister was written to with regard to land allocation to establish that project. And nothing happened. Nothing happened. Whenever something happens in Silver Lake, some of us are very quick to blame the people and the situations there. But here was an opportunity to provide some economic opportunities for these people right within the Silver Lake area. And that opportunity went down to the ground after much resources and effort was put in that regard. So I just want to link that to the economy, because generally we have not seen the kind of emphasis in youth entrepreneurship and youth business development. There needs to be more resources concentrated in that regard. I used to be a support system working with the cooperative division, with the youth business, the youth enterprise in the youth division. But this youth enterprise program needs to develop into another phase so as to bring more meaningful development and more resources in terms of capital and support systems Where are the incubators, the business incubators in Roseau, in the urban centers in Dominica that could lend support to the creation of youth business enterprises? Where is that support system? That support system needs to be developed. It has for too long a time be underdeveloped, and I think that is a disincentive, I would say, for youth development and youth in business. Where are the cooperative enterprises? We had significant cooperative enterprises creating significant employment for persons in candle industries, in the frontline cooperative, in the leather goods cooperative, and in several in the home industries. Where is the home industries? After the hurricane, I personally wrote a project. I was commended by the cooperative division and for the development of that project. But that project was not funded by government after the people were given promises that they would be given. Where is the home industries? Where is the home industries that was there utilizing local timber and giving farmers a little opportunity to sell local timber that would be used in the woodwork industry? Where is the local handmade beds and other appliances that they would have made? Everything now is being imported by
Yeah,
ports
still,
and
I just want to just encourage you. You're very correct. I remember very well my dad and them used to cut down timbers, and even I don't want to mention that word, but even coffins to create coffins and so forth. It was good. So you were 100% correct.
even in the agricultural industry, there were several cooperatives contributing to the marketing
Let's try to engage a caller, please.
of farmers' produce and so on. And all of these are no more.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, Blanchard.
To you, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to the other panelists.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening, brother.
Yes, I'm just in the area where we're speaking small business and cooperative. Um, I think that is a very strong point because even you give the small business people money, but where's the group? Where's the export? Where's a bigger body of this? All these manufacturing people come together. I think they say they give like 400 people money in the bank, but where are the products these people selling? Where are they? I think we supposed to form more bigger cooperatives to work together, get better location strategy. Like let's say the airport, you have like a mini supermarket with fungal Dominica things there. You have one at the ferry at the terminal and some strategic areas in Roseau. And even in the supermarket, I find the Minister of Trade supposed to work a little more with the supermarket owners, even to subsidize the supermarket, let's say with at least a $3,000 to cost to start to buy the local thing and just have a shelf in the supermarket with Dominica products. I have a problem with a certain business place in Dominica. They're importing all the raw materials. We buy the raw materials, the bottles, the essential oil like the peppermint to mix. And that company have at least three big business in Roseau. And they're failing to buy the products from we. The same thing they're importing, even the leaf, sweet up leaf, daily. And I find the Minister of Trade supposed to work more with a small company like NDF. NDF has been a lot of small business people that work with NDF. You generate some money in NDF, at least at $3-4 million. And you let NDF work with the small business people, import some of the raw materials, the small manufacturing buying, do some more international branding of the product for them. Because not everybody that can make a product that certify and know how to design a label. You understand? So what you're saying is the real truth, and it's not about politics. And I think the government, you have some nice ministers there now. I talked to this young guy from 57, I think he used to be in the fish thing before. I think the prime minister is supposed to have a minister just for the public to bring matters to the government, not a minister for the public. Because one of the things that's stifling us is when you have to go to the ministry. I think for things to work, you're supposed to have a two ministers, even one in the countryside, maybe one on the south, to represent all what you're saying there, to come in, to do a faster spin over. Because when you have to go to the ministry, that's where everything dying. Anyway, enjoy your program.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. Thank you very much,
yeah.
scholar. Good point.
John, let me you
Yes, go
see,
ahead.
the process of independence was supposed to take us from a centralized concept of governance to a decentralized concept of governance. And we haven't done that. So in essence, we've been independent, but we haven't put the processes in place to ensure our independence. When last you heard the government have an economic discussion in Parliament, economic in terms of laws to ensure the development of certain sectors, the
Never,
protection of certain
never,
sectors. When last you heard these guys
never.
have immigration laws talking about the rights of people coming to live and work in Dominica as different from the rights of citizens? We are a small country in the Caribbean, bro. This idea of CARICOM and just unlimited coming to live in your village is no problem, but we have to put restrictions on people who come into our country. People are becoming Dominican citizens too easily, and it's disadvantageous to our economic blueprint. It's disadvantageous to a lot of things in the country.
Well,
You understand?
Zeb, I am so sorry to interrupt you, but I want to
Yeah,
assist you. I want to assist you with what you were saying. You're making a very good point about centralized governance and economic initiative. And when last we have heard the government did it, I will share something with you. I normally don't call people's name, but Thompson
yeah,
Fontaine had economic. I forget how we called it, but
Summit.
yeah. The summit. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, the summit. Yeah,
and I felt that was a very good initiative in
yeah,
my
man. Yeah, man.
yeah. And so you are right on point. You are right on point. And what he tried to do, he tried to include, as far as I understand, he tried to invite investors. He tried to invite private persons,
Yep, that's
and
correct.
and that's
Yeah,
why I tell you, Zeb, you are right on point.
yeah, yeah. It's a future blueprint. It's a future blueprint, and that is why I am. That's why I love the movement of Thompson Fontaine in Dominica, and I hope it can continue because you see, we have not had directives from official perspectives with regards to development of our people. These guys talk above our heads. They talk about the developmental projects they bring have nothing to do with local, bro. Nothing to do with local. You
Yeah.
understand? So what we need is a new kind of thinking. The brother talked about the cooperatives. It is the way forward. Even the agriculture. We're talking about agriculture and development for us. We have to talk at the very least an OECS agriculture model, at the very least, because for us to compete in the global market, to be able to provide things that we can consistently get good prices, Dominica does not have the volume to accomplish that, brother. So
Well, my brother,
our
I mean,
conversation
I
has to be
hope,
more regional in those concepts if we're
yeah, I
serious
hope
about
our
big development.
conversation tonight is not that you give a speech and I give a speech. I hope that we can really have a conversation.
No, no,
I
we have been
listen all the time.
we
I'm
have
a
been
good
a discussion,
listener.
Doc. We have discussion. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
I really,
confused,
and
no?
so what I was saying when you mentioned agriculture, you need to understand from Salisbury, I would say, and one might say that's a general, uh, some sort of utopic view of how to fix it. But the bottom line, and so believe you me, I know people from my community that are very good agriculturists, and all they need, you know the word, it starts with M.
And
It's market. It's market.
roads and roads and roads.
Well, that one is another one. So we may have to block the road again. But the view here is what I think needs to happen is that the government, instead of all these hotels that they are building,
Yeah.
since the host of the show, Mr. John Blanchard, since it's about the economy, all these hotels, tell me $1 somebody from Silver Lake get from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good point. As a matter of fact, I have that as a point to bring out.
Tell me $1.
Not one.
But I
Foreign.
promise you, if we had markets for the farmers in any part of Dominica, I haven't got to say Salisbury, in any part of Dominica, that they can constantly sell their products, I bet you it would trickle down in the economy.
Yep.
And yeah, and I think, and so one might say, no, so what are we talking about? I really want to get to this. And so what are we talking about here is the view that, man, the last 10 years, or let's say 20 years, has not been very good. How do we fix it? And this is not a show that where we speak and we criticize the government without any form of solution. We are trying to have a healthy conversation here that would bring some sort of recommendation, that would let them see, okay, the view here is get markets for the farmers' produce. Now, one might say, well, Dr. George, go ahead and get the market. So why can't you go and get it yourself? Why it has to be John Blanchard or Washworth Coffee? Okay, so how do we do it? The answer is you contact the people. You contact your neighbors, you contact, and you say, for example, okay, I can not promise you every week I will have tomatoes or watermelons or tomatoes, but I can promise you in the next 3 months or 4 months, you can have a steady supply. Blanchard, that's a start. That's a start. And then one might say, for example, okay, so the next 4 months, and these are the things people have to start talk about right now. Anyway, that's my view.
I am Dr. George, you emphasize the marketing point. This is a very critical aspect of business development, and because your focal point is to sell what you produce, and that has to be done through a system of marketing and having marketing outlets for your produce.
Yes.
Now, this is where I mention about the cooperative enterprises, because by and large, many of our business enterprises in Dominica are small businesses by nature. And they may not necessarily have the kind of volumes by themselves to create the kind of influence in terms of marketing. And this is where, through a system of having marketing cooperatives, that would serve as a means to build volume, to build bulk, which you can then use in terms of your negotiations and so to influence your marketing and your marketing outlets. But this, especially where agriculture is concerned, we had a very good system of marketing cooperatives. We had in the citrus industry, the Dominica citrus growers cooperative.
And DBMC.
You had even right now we have the Bay Oil Cooperative. But where are we going with Bay
Coconut
Oil?
products.
We seem to be at a standstill with Bay Oil, even prior before Maria.
My brother, if I have to
And these
give
were
you the
important.
amount of
In fact, at
examples,
one point in time, the Bay Oil industry was bringing in $3 million, and that was money that was coming in to Bagatelle, Petit Savant, Délices, Laplane, Petit Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope.
oh my God. So what you're
These
saying is,
monies are not servicing these communities.
so what you're saying is
And
that
this is why when we're talking about economy, this is why we are saying the economy is bad, because there is no viable operations in these industries at this moment in time.
All right. Take a pause. Dr. George, you said something. Okay, okay. So, talking about the economy, I want to ask you guys a question, you know, because all of these cooperatives and all of that we're talking about is fine, and I believe if we had those things, we could have had a much better economy. But do you think that if the CBI monies was better utilized, that we could also have a much better economy? In that you could allocate monies to agriculture, to the tourism sector, to manufacturing, assisting small businesses, empowering our skilled and unskilled people. Because right now you have mostly foreigners working. Yes, most of the hotels being built all over the place and so on. But who working at these hotels? Foreigners. The Prime Minister boasts of $214 million that was exported overseas, sent overseas. But most of that money was from foreigners. So I'm saying if the government, well, again, they don't have the ability, but if they could um, put all these monies in agriculture, in tourism, in manufacturing, and so on, we could see a much brighter day for Dominica. And the monies are there. I mean, we have billions of dollars out there that can't be accounted for. If at least quarter of that, one tenth of that amount, could come back to the country where we could utilize it properly, I believe we could see some headway in Dominica. Your thoughts, guys? Are you
You know,
guys
you
muted?
know,
Okay.
John. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. This week or last week, these guys had a press conference on the whole CBI thing, and then they had a program, and folks were talking about what they would really like done. And there was the basic summary where as long as an accounting of monies get done, then problem solved. And I was very worried about that. You see, this CBI in its new iteration on the Roosevelt scale, it was not created on the premise of Dominica, first, it wasn't created in an endemic concept of us and our development. It's an external program. It's like a colonial program, with a new colonialist. The concept of the program is not primarily Dominica's benefit. It is how we can exploit Dominica's passports to make money for foreigners. What we benefit of is fees, John. In a program of that size and the volume of monies, we should be benefiting much more than fees
Big
for the
time.
uses of our passport. Much
Yeah.
more than fees. We should be
Mm-hmm.
we should be having percentages in these businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? We,
Ownership,
we, we,
man.
we have, so it's not just a thing. We have to restructure the CDI program. The CDI program we executing on the right now was created by foreigners to exploit a situation. We need to re-engineer it by ourselves for our benefit.
That's correct.
You see, too much of the money is going outside. Too much of it. You understand? You have projects. More monies are going to these people's pockets than the cost of the project itself. That is crazy for our passports. So this idea that all we want to interested in some accounting of is short-sighted and foolish. The patriotic thing, the idea of citizenship and passports, we need to create in our constitution a distinction between an economic citizen and a patriotic native Dominican.
Yeah.
We have to have a pyramid of rights. These people
All
have to
right.
be excluded from certain rights in our country, bro.
That's
It's
right.
statement
Good
like
point.
this.
Right.
Look,
Well said. Well said.
Guys, let's take a little musical break and probably take one or two calls. I'm not seeing the calls coming in, but let's just take a little break for now, right? So callers, you can call at this time. Numbers to call are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and overseas line, which I'm not sure if it's working, 305-432-9624.
Anybody with some agenda, walk across, a Bible stand, walk across a we stopping them this year. They want to put yo, they want to put look it. Hey, let me go. Get something left, get something right, anything in sight. I always understood that the country was doing good. Whoa. fries and cheese, sucked up my country juices. Well, they sucked it very well. For their personal gain, you listen, stay over again. IMF never had to come down, yeah.
All right, guys. Since there are no calls, I think we can probably continue. And just to make a quick point before anybody come in, while we're in discussion of the economy, I think it would also be good to mention that some of the factors, or one of the factors that can negatively affect the economy, is that of the abuse of state resources. Because it doesn't matter how much money we may have in the economy, doesn't matter how much money we get from CBI, it doesn't matter how well we are doing, but if the state resources are being abused, it is going to negatively impact the economy. And we saw it recently. We heard of the saga of that $184,000 that was, to my mind, spent, but not spent to better us or better the country for the use of government business. And we have many more like that where state resources are being abused all the time. And when that happens, it will have a negative impact on the economy. What's your views, Dr. George?
Thank you so much for asking me, and I really appreciate it. So you're saying that perhaps, I use the word perhaps because I'm being kind, that there are maybe one or two garbage trucks in Dominica. I'm saying that perhaps I'm being kind, that there are maybe one uh, ambulance in a village, in a certain parish, and a parish may have Salisbury, Coolibistry, Monwachet, Salisbury, St. Joseph. One ambulance. I'm saying that you can, and we can go on and on. Um, and the view that a vehicle was purchased, signed by the Ministry of Finance, for the Prime Minister to transport his trip. And so you diluted into an area here where one would submit the view that that's abuse of state resources. Period.
Yep.
That's abuse of state resources. Do not do that. But then, yeah, I don't come on a program and waste my time. I have my mother lie down there, you know. But my view here is, why are Dominicans standing here and seeing all of this happening and not saying, so what do we do about it? Now,
Right.
you best believe, because of the work I do, I will not say what Dominicans should do. But after all, my friend, um, if someone were to take state resources, I mean, come on now. I mean, see what happened in Martinique. See what happened in other places of the world, in France, where they say, you cannot do that. Well, this time there are some good soldiers and patriots, I would say, in Dominica, who stood up and said that should not, and they turned around. They said the prime minister was not involved in it, and so forth. I think that's a very good point that you're bringing up. But on that note, if you allow me to, I would really like to share with you not just the problem, but I would say the solution. And Mr. Coffee can jump in, and of course, Zed Lloyd can jump in. The view that what do we do about it? And I would say we need to get into tonight discussion because we have a voice, and the voice is an important voice. The answer is we need to have a coalition government. What I'm hearing going on in Marigot here, I find that uncomfortable. That the young, brilliant Paris and his statement, knowing who Lennox Linton is, I find to myself, if we were talking about, and when I say we, perhaps I should remove myself from that. But it's just the idea that to remove an incumbent, sometimes you do need a collision. Yeah, you do. And the collision I see is that the opposition forces in Dominica should really rise up and not be so divisive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Point. Mm-hmm. Good point.
yeah. Even when Joshua Francis, I don't like calling people's name, started his party, I heard people were so critical. And I felt to myself, I don't see why anybody is critical of that. I think he's well within his rights to do what he think is best for what he think is good for the country. What I see Dominica is doing, they're becoming very polarized. They are becoming UWP or Labour, and Labour not hearing nothing from UWP and UWP, and I don't think that's healthy. That's my view. Um, and I would like to see change of government every so often, the same way it happens in developed countries. Um, and you know, you haven't got to get upset with someone if that's the view. If this 10 years you have one party, and let me not just deal with 10, it might be 20, let's say 24. No, I'm very serious, you know. But I would say if we could change it every 10 years, I think it's healthy. It's healthy to have, I mean, come on, any human being that is a laborite or UWPite, think of what you were hearing tonight. Is it so bad to change your government every so often? I mean, Mr. Blanchard, am I missing any sense?
I think it's wise too. When governments stay in power for too long, I think they become complacent. They start to be disrespectful to the citizenry, and I think it's healthy that you have a change of government as often as you can, be it 5, be it 10. No, but you can't have one person there for 20, 25 years. It is not
Actually, 24.
healthy. It's not.
All right.
I don't,
That's my view.
I don't support
Yeah,
it.
yeah. All right, Watchman. Yeah, do your thing. Like, no, you've been quiet for a
Yeah,
minute.
well, you see on the whole question of the abuse of state resources, I think the that situation is even more critical when you look at a lot of the other sectors, and you see that there are a lot of limited resource allocation in health, in education. See our garbage situation, very appalling. I mean, when the hype of our tourism season, I was talking to a guy in the taxi business, and he told me right now he has come to a point where he's fed up in terms of the kind of excuses he have to be making about the garbage situation. Because you can make an excuse for the first couple weeks, but the people keep on coming back and they're seeing this multitude of rubbish. And I mean, this
Oh
is
my God, have mercy. I'm not on
in a
land, but
country
I'm
that
hearing
is
that there's a
priding
serious problem with
a
rubbish.
country that is priding itself on nature, the nature island of the Caribbean. How you can have this significant amount of garbage all over
All
this
over the
place?
place. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big eyesore, and there is a particular suburban area that I frequent. And man, is to see the amount of rats, man, and in a big slum area where hundreds of people are living.
Rats in the city.
You understand? So, so I want to look at this question of the state of resources in terms of the question of what are our priorities? When we do
Well,
not
well,
have,
well
I mean, my I visit the health center to sometimes solicit um, medication for my wife. And for the past months, there is no medication. I mean, the people can't give you no medication at the health center.
I've heard about that. Yeah,
You know, I have
I've
no
heard about it.
thing to
In
buy
fact,
my
a good priest
medication,
friend
but
of
what
mine
about
said,
the people who are in a position who cannot buy it? You know, so when you look at these needs and you are hearing about the acquisition of transport to carry the children of the prime minister, I mean, this is
for
absurdity.
private use, yeah.
This is absurdity. We're not a rich country and people want to live like kings, you
Let
know?
me just read something from Arundel Thomas, our dear brother. He's trying to get in, but it was his line giving some problem. So he's saying all guests are making progress points and contributions, referring to Zed and Dr. Dion. He said not just the hotels, but every minor or major government project is undertaken by Chinese or foreigners. How can the economic prospects of Dominican citizens slash locals improve under such a brutal policy? Again, not just the oil. What about the cassava, coconut, and the Toloma industries? These products can bring great economic returns to the average person if the government invests the required funds and support policies. Good point, Arundel. Well
Real,
taken.
real talk, real talk,
Now,
real
just
talk.
before you guys continue, right? Washburn spoke about the garbage all over the place and so on. And I said before, I made suggestions before on this program that we have village councils all over Dominica, right? Why don't the government empower these councils rather than trying to sideline them and bring in the development committee all over the place and bring in the politics in it? Why don't they empower the councils? For example, we could purchase a garbage truck to serve, let's say, Soufriere, Scottsdale, Port Michel, Loubier. You decide what areas it serves. You have an extra to serve maybe Kenfield, Mao, Massag, West Coast. You have one for the north and so on, the east and so on. So in that way, you're easing the pressure on solid waste and on the whole thing of garbage collection. That's number one. Number two, you are empowering the council. Number three, you are creating some income for this local government, for the councils, various councils. Because the trucks won't just collect garbage. The trucks can be utilized otherwise in terms of probably carrying building materials for persons from the community. The building a house could carry a block, cement, a sand, and so on. And they can make some money from those trucks, which you can use now to maintain the trucks, for the insurance, the license, and service it, and so on. And the garbage problem would be out of the window because every area would have a truck. So you have maybe six, seven, eight trucks, whatever number of trucks you require to serve the entire country, and our country will remain clean and green, and we can continue to boast of a nature isle in that way. Yes, then go ahead.
Yeah, but John, I think one of the critical things that is missing is the people of Dominica have stopped taking responsibility for self. And I say that because you see, it's your health, and
Just
there
let me
is
stick up in
no
there.
reason.
Let's take a caller, please. Just stick up in there.
Yeah, no,
This call is
no
still right.
problem.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue. Good evening, caller. Yes, good evening to you. Yes.
Yes, good night.
Mhm. What area is that? What area is that, ma'am? What area? Mhm. Right. Right. All right. You're welcome. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, at some point, the onus is on you, the individual who's been affected.
Mhm.
And for Dominica, for there to be an onslaught of garbage in Dominica, and Dominicans have not treated that situation with a sense of urgency. I don't know. To me, it doesn't say much about the government. It says more about the people. There is something wrong with our mindsets in the country, irrespective of Roosevelt, whatever it is. There is an absence of empowerment in the people, bro. A total absence for their very good. Forget about the politics. For their very good, and so I think we spend a lot of time talking about the scary objective in the situation, but Dominicans, by and large, have lost a sense of self. We've lost a sense of self worth. And to me, that worries me more than anything else. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you heard the ladies thing, right? Testimony. Rather than about fighting. Very interesting. I mean, this tells you, the amount of garbage we have out there, and it is all over. And that that is a simple thing you can fix. It's a very simple thing. Give the councils a truck in the various areas and solve that problem. I mean, if these guys can't solve simple things like garbage collection in the country, tell me what can they do? Simple things. And we're talking about fixing the economy.
And this thing is going on for months,
By these guys fix
This thing is
economy.
going on for months, and as if it is not a problem.
Is that possible?
And Brother Washburn, I'm glad you talk about fixing the economy, John. And again, that's why I say we need a new economic model for the country.
Yes,
Listen,
do.
we are not traders, right? We are not traders. And the Caribbean by and large is a trading economy. How did we become a trading economy? We became a trading economy because most of our economy are controlled by Syrians who are a tradition of trade.
Mhm.
So what is their tradition of trade? Import and sell.
Right.
That cannot work in a third world country that is trying to develop because it is not based on endemic development. So the model of economics that we are following is contrary to our very development as a nation.
That's right.
That's why the stems of the people keep getting rich in Dominica. You
There's a
understand? And the
return.
government doesn't organize no progressive economic model geared towards changing the status quo in the country. You understand? So our model of economics, it is inherently detrimental to the development of our poor people.
But
It
see,
is detrimental because,
sorry, go ahead, go ahead,
go
go ahead.
ahead, brother. Go
Yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
don't you think that is deliberate by the government so you could impoverish the people, keep them poor, so they keep coming to beg for
Well,
food?
No, I don't agree. And let me just finish, doctor. I don't agree. I think, and that's the thing, a mistake we've been making with Roosevelt, bro. Boy, let me tell you something. Roosevelt does not know about an economy. We need to start dealing with Roosevelt on the truth level, bro. Same thing like the MMC thing. We have to stop blaming that man over there. Roosevelt's carrot is MMC. MMC. You understand? So what you have in Dominica is a brother who doesn't know how to develop an economy and who still wants to be the boss.
Hmm.
That is why we in that economic thing, not because Roosevelt want to keep Dominicans poor. Roosevelt's carrot does not know how to make Dominicans rich. He doesn't understand the fundamental dynamics of building an economy. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't grasp it.
Right.
yeah, can I have a
You
say?
understand?
Just to support Zed's point, I personally believe we have to re-engineer the economy from the emphasis on CBI. That has to be a strategic step as far as restructuring the economy is concerned. I personally believe that we would earn much more foreign exchange if we can put emphasis on local production and
Straight
manufacturing,
up,
not just local
straight up.
production in terms of marketing raw materials, but going into manufacturing so that we can add value to what we produce. But to do that, we're going to require significant and new investments in agriculture and in cottage industries, in local manufacturing, and so forth, and as well as new investments in the digital economy, especially our technological savvy individuals. There is a wide scope and areas for development in that regard with the digital economy. Our marine industry is still underexploited. There is much room for development in that area. We hear emphasis on the blue economy, but we need to bring more of that results oriented project development to the local people, the fishers, the people in industries like snorkeling and whale watching and that kind of thing. There have to be more support systems geared towards, and it has to be again a development that just not take into consideration those in the higher bracket in terms of capital formation. We have to look at how we can provide young people with seed money and make capital access much more feasible for young people to engage themselves in these activities. It cannot be just for the rich, for the, well, I don't want to call names, but there are certain establishments in some of these areas without widening the scope to include people in the rank and file of the citizenry. So, and this is why I see we need to see how we can again develop the concept of cooperatives, so we can bring those local artisans who do not who have limited means to resources to enable them to form enterprises and where those things are concerned. Offshore financial services. What about our water? Our water industry is very underdeveloped, and we have to be importing water, which increasing our bill.
Sikapin. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Sorry to call back Mr. Blanchard. I would like to ask Mr. Gregory, you see a show like what are you having there tonight?
Right.
I think Mr. Gregory, I'm begging him, please, as a small business person, I think that show's supposed to go on like on a Sunday night when you have the listening people relax home.
Yeah, prime time.
And where you can get the small manufacturing people to call, give the name and the former body right there, Alliance Cooperative. And what the gentleman is saying is that is what Dominica was doing in the 70s.
That's correct. Yes, correct.
Vanilla. Right now, pound of vanilla is $100. You can do vanilla like passion fruit in your yard, with just natural things, spices around $40 a pound. So I think I'm begging Mr. Gregory, those shows is for when they listing people home. And that's a very educated program all out there. And if we don't go that way, there is no way we're going to make it. Look at the wars that fighting out there, my brother. Look at Silver Lake. A simple little problem like what I hear is going on in Silver Lake. I believe even a few fellas like all the with somebody from the government, they can be the parliament, you can get a priest. The kind of disaster here happening in that so long ago. The people, nobody could help these people. And what the gentleman said a while ago, there a place like Silver Lake should have a little small business by the road when the tourists pass, car wash, entertainment.
Of course, man.
People supposed to go there and socialize instead of having the place like a Vietnam.
In fact, that is what the project was all about.
My friend, you're making some real good points.
Yeah, caller, you're making a good point.
We don't
Very
fight
good
in this
point.
struggle in front of us. We fighting amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
That is Dominica, another disaster. Any government going to have jealous. We fighting with each other. They grown up people sending their youths to fight with you, because they feel they have an army. Army not fighting a war, It's the man behind the army,
So
and then them black people here, they're running from Africa. Look at the amount of run African people running. Trinidad sending back around 400 Spanish people. Look at, we don't take an example.
Yeah.
Stand up and we say we don't learn from our history.
And if you're not careful, then we can
Well,
will start to fight.
I just begging Mr. Brother, I wish you could have a program like that to educate us. And that's the way you have to go, There's no other way,
Yes.
You have to grow our own food.
Yes, I love that. And the point you made of Silver Lake, because you have these people, people struggling and so on, and you have all the tourists boss passing up that way to go to Trafalgar and Loda and so on. Why can't you empower these people? Because there's little stores and so on, build some nice stores for them. They could sell the flowers and fruits and different things and so on. Make a living, make some money. Perhaps we would not have all those crimes happening up there.
Anyway, Mr. Blanchard, if I may, I think
Good
Mr.
point.
Coffee. By the way, let me give credence to the caller. I
Mhm.
think he has basically give you some credence for having a good show. But at the same time, that's not my point. My point, I wanted to give a little comment on the economy. Um, I heard Zed Lloyd and I heard Coffee made some comments, which I welcome both of them. But I felt if it's okay with you, and you can stop me when you're prepared, the region, the Caribbean region, we had what was called, like we were colonized. And so all what we produced went to our colonized people. All right. And everyone is aware of that. Then we went to something called export oriented economy. Again, that's in the book that I produced, which is called Perpetual Dependency. I'm not saying that because I want to talk about my book. I'm saying that because no, I'm serious. It's really the truth. We
Yeah.
went to perpetual dependency.
Right.
And so what we did, we exported things and they imported it. And it was good at the time. And believe me, it was good. Man, I can remember, let me just tell you, I can remember my dad, people used to have vehicles from the port way back to Linus, um, the funeral place. Um, yes, and they have to sell bananas, and it could be there till 3 o'clock in the morning. Yes, and they have to go and sell their bananas. And then we move to something called import substitution. And these are things you could look up on the internet for all the listeners who are listening to this program. You listen to import substitution. So we said, okay, we're not going to import everything. We're going to plant and do it ourselves. And then we came into the 1980s. Sorry, I did not put the dates to the previous policies, but we did what is called the International Monetary Fund, IMF. And so we did it in that was about the 1980s. And they too had their rules. And then in my book, I said that we have a different version of what it is right now. It has changed based on the conditionalities, the amount of tariff, tax, what they call VAT, the amount of externalities that we have to deal with. One can wonder: does it make sense? I don't want this to get too technical. I can see you on your phone, but that's fine. But I'm just saying that it's really important that one realizes that the Caribbean is in a place of transition. And let me just give you, I hate using that word. The word is called general. I don't like using it. But let me give you, there is a view that the Caribbean will become one of the poorest places in the world in the next 10 to 15 years. I don't know where, and someone can research it and say, Dr. George has just messed up his entire thing. I'm telling you, this view of IMF is a view that, well, we need to, first of all, one, make sure we are paying our debt on time, make sure we are paying our taxes, and make sure we can benefit from it. Outside of that, um, again, I told you about Haiti today, the view that they are saying that the US said best they have a peace program. China and Russia said no. What peace program? The only way to fix Haiti is to bring soldiers there and we deal with whoever causing a problem. And they were serious. And I think this program tonight, I think it was a good program. I'm looking at my clock. I see we have 7 minutes.
Yeah, but before we end, we want to touch a little on electoral reform.
Okay, go ahead.
And we have one of the members of ARC. there is a saving. So I'm not sure if you can give us a quick update, not much time, because we want to keep that topic on the front burner. And I realize it has gone cold. I'm not too sure where it is at this time as we speak. I'm not hearing much talk about it, and probably you can tell us something, Rushby.
Well, unfortunately, I am not updated as to where we are at the ERC because the last meeting that was called, again, because of I do not have a operational phone at this time. So I was not able to participate in that in the last online meeting. But we continue to be concerned. All all intentions by the authorities was that they were serious about having it and having it soon. But we I think we have got to a point where we really cannot trust the sentiments of the PM in that regard where electoral reform is concerned, because every time he gives his own deadlines and timelines, he himself has failed, or the government, the authorities, has failed to meet up to those timelines. So that is a problem. I am aware that the I think it's some time now. I think it's a couple months now that the Electoral Commission has responded and submitted their report or their comments to the establishment. So I mean, it's high time now. I personally, I think representing Concerned Citizens Movement, was very concerned that even while we see electoral reform as a matter of priority, but with regards to the independence speech of the Prime Minister or even the President, there was no attention or mention made of electoral reform in their various independence addresses. So that questions the authority in terms of their um, the pace with which they are moving with such an important matter. So, but I am aware that some plans were being looked at in terms of maybe having some event to coincide with, I think, the second anniversary it would be of the sham elections.
Yeah,
I think mention was made of some event. I think last year we had some special event here to coincide with that event. But of course, if members of the ERC are hearing us at this point in time for this program, somebody like Boston could maybe call us and update us as to where we are and maybe what activities are being contemplated in the not too distant future.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, much more needs to be done. I mean, we had all of those consultation. Some people call it confrontation, but whatever it was, and then the state spent over $700,000 given to Dennis Byron for to look at the whole process and so on. And all that needs to be done right now is to take that thing to Parliament. So what is the hold up? I think by now the different groups, political parties, and so on should come together, and we should give these people a deadline. When I say these people, I'm referring to the
The
government of
The
authorities.
the
incumbent,
authorities.
the government.
A deadline, period. That you have to take this thing to Parliament by that date, otherwise we will do what we have to do. It's simple as that. We can't just
Yeah, I think it has reached.
dilly
Yeah,
dally,
I think it has
Anyway,
reached a
talking
point.
about reform over and over. We have to give a deadline to take this thing to Parliament. What we want you to take to Parliament, not what you want.
I think this is very profound. That is why I think we have a voice, and if the public can listen, I don't think that we're asking for any violence. I think that we are speaking truth to power. That's what I would say. But I
Yeah.
would also say something, Mr. John Blanchard and Mr. President Coffee. my good friend Zeb Lloyd. I think we have 2 more minutes, but I heard one of the members of the opposition says that if he goes up as a parliamentary representative for UWP, that he will go with any other party. I think the voice that we have, which we do have a voice, and I think our voice is there to, again, I want to compliment the president, Mr. Coffee. I want to compliment you, Mr. John Blanchard. And I also want to compliment Zeb Lloyd. I want to talk about it because I think this is serious. I think Lennox Linton is a champion. I say this with no apology. If I were to say that he's the best suited, let me correct my word. I would say most deserving. Yeah, because words have meaning, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say he's the most deserving person. To, yeah, yeah, most deserving. But that doesn't take anything away from him, you know. It doesn't take anything away from him. The man is a lion. A lion. All right. So, okay, I'm not saying that the young guy is not a lion. He may be a younger lion. My view is I don't like this idea, and so what I, as a political scientist, has always recommended, and I'll say it, and I think we having a voice, we should be together. My view is do not have divisions. In Marigot, there should be one representative, and the Marigot people should celebrate and support that one representative. I heard a caller from Salisbury called and said, if it's so, it's going well. Best we just have different coalitions and best Freedom Party come back together again. And with that view, I don't see a bad thing about that, you know. But one might say, do not do that. Let's come together and
That's right.
yeah. And so where do I stand? I stand in the point of view that how do I say this? One, do you believe we need a change of government? You're not in a classroom with me, you know. You just answer into your heart, to your soul, to what you believe. Yeah. All right. Do you
Absolutely.
believe we need a change of government?
Oh, yes.
Yes or no? And the answer.
Oh, absolutely.
The other question is, do you believe UWP can do it by itself? All right. You might say yes or no. Now, the other question is, are we willing to come together to do it? And I will end our session tonight. It's after 8 o'clock in Dominica. It's after 7 by me on very cold weather. That's the question Dominica has to answer for themselves, not for me to go on the radio to say it.
Right.
We have to come together and make a change, and a change for Dominica. And now one might say, change for what? There are different topics about who's going to replace them. Of course, there are persons to replace them here. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Zed, your closing comments,
I,
'cause it's after it already. Over to you.
yeah. I think the fact that when we come to these concepts that we always ends up at political parties is the fundamental wrong that is wrong in Dominica. We mute the concept of citizens standing up for country when we take everything to the political platform, and that is and that has been our taboo and our hindrance at this juncture. So people sit home and they expect political parties to liberate them. And that is the sad place that Dominica has arrived at. You understand? That is the sad place that Dominica has arrived at. That citizens have given up their rights to stand for their betterment, waiting on a political leader. So folks make noise about a political leader in a party giving them the full responsibility of being their liberator. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? We have to return our struggle to a civic platform. Unless we return the struggle to a more civic oriented platform, Roosevelt Skerry will keep winning that struggle because as long as we keep it political, we do not cross the divide. The polarization that Brother George talked about earlier, that is what that keeps negating that movement. You understand? So we need to start talking about this thing from a citizenry perspective and not from a political party. We need to suspend these political party issues right now and focus on country and dealing with Roosevelt Skerry. We can deal with political things after, and the people can choose who they want to lead. But that's not what we need right now. We need a collective of citizenry to stand for country. Peace and blessings, brother.
All right, bro. Thank you very much. Brother Coffee, your closing comments, 2 minutes or
Yes,
so.
well, I want to support Brother Z. Unity, of course, would be the best policy. Based on where Dominica has been and what we have experienced over the years, there is no doubt to my mind, and I think I'm talking on behalf of the Concerned Citizens Movement, given all the incompetencies and all the bad governance and all the government abuse and so on, we have not developed. We have not developed. We have not developed and fulfilled our expectations in terms of where we should be at this point in our independence. And therefore, this, to my mind, requires a regime change, a change of the guard. We cannot be satisfied that one set of individuals over a matter of 24 years have all what it takes to develop Dominica, and it doesn't reside in other people who may be even more competent and more skilled. We need to move away from this foolishness of if not this one who. I mean, this is nonsense
Yeah.
in this modern age. So, and that would be would probably be a solution in terms of all of the areas we have discussed tonight, in terms of crime, in terms of the economic situation in the country, the abuse of state resources, electoral reform. If we have proper regime change and a competent and effective government, we should see progress in those areas. And this is why I believe there is no doubt in my mind that some I cannot decide. I am not the citizenry, and I agree with Zed. The citizens are leaving too much to leaders and politicians. The citizens themselves, as I walk through the hamlets in Dominica, everybody asking what next, what next. But what about you? You have to get involved and involved.
Collective.
You understand? It cannot be you on one side and you're looking at other people to take the lead for you. You yourself have to be a leader in your own rights. So I believe everybody. I believe there is a serious cry, and it's not in just urban communities. It is as well in urban communities as in rural areas. There is a serious call for changes in this country, and that change has to be fueled by a unity in both in purpose
Thank you.
and in terms of the common good.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, let me thank you all for your time. It's already 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we need to get out of the people's studio. Okay, so you guys did a fantastic job tonight. And of course, you're always willing and ready whenever you're called upon. As a matter of fact, I think probably Zed said no probably once because he's not feeling too well. But besides that, 99% of the time, I call on you guys to be on that program. You are always ready. So thanks a lot for that. Our next program, by the way, will be in 2 weeks' time because remember, it's in the second week and the last week of every month. So it will be on the 13th of December, unless if we get somebody out there who's willing to sponsor next week Friday, then we can always be here next week Friday. But for now, it will be on the 15th of December. All right, guys. So do have a blessed night. Take care of yourselves and your family. And Dr. Dion, say hi to your mom and continue to do the good work that you're doing with her, caring for your mom. That's a great task that you have on your hands.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very
I
much.
want to thank you for doing that. Take care, guys. And good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
All right, folks, that is where we have to say good evening. It was nice having you guys out there listening to us, and the few of you who called, we also appreciate that. We also had a few persons online viewing us: Mali, Austrian. We have Jane Bernard, Joseph Stronghouse, Otto 718, Irvin Joseph, Marshall, and a few others. Happy to have you all in our company tonight. All right, so good night, have a blessed weekend, and may God bless you all. Bye bye now.
The country, the blood of the country. Politicians, greedy black man, back it up, the country, the blood of the country. Hey, hey, how do you look it? Hey, Revan Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Revan Sukuyaki. Anybody with some red agenda? Walk across a bag of stand, walk across a gun. We stopping them this year. Revan Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Revan Sukuyaki. Look it. Hey, let me go. They're sucking left, they're sucking right, anything in sight. I always understood that my country was doing good. Whoa! Parasite and leeches sucked up my country juices. Well, they sucked it very well. For their personal gain, you listen say over again. IMF never had to come down, yeah, to advise us on how we should take care. We shut up out to kill a fly flew away on the damn cow die. I wonder why. They suck up the country, they suck up the country, dry Lord. They suck up the country, they suck up the country, dry. Oh, mama, why? Politicians sucking it, lazy black men with no ambition sucking it. Like vacuum they suck it up, civil servants, local merchants, look like who wants sucking it. Like vacuum they sucking it dry. We're giving away accuracy for speed, all because of our greed. But in we know to spite with faith, now it's waste man have to breathe. Huh? They sucking we country, they sucking we country, my Lord. They sucking we country, dry. Boom. Watch it. They ban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, they ban Sukuyaki. Going by you. I need some holy water and a big piece of cup. We're smoking them. We're coming through. They ban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, they ban Sukuyaki, mama. Hey, let me go. Let me go. They sucking left, they sucking right, anything inside. The last which I could tell, local music was selling well. Whoa. But the local music shops pirating wouldn't stop. Well, they pirating me well. To record me go through load while they sit down, relax and burn. Like some people just don't have a heart. While you're trying to tear musicians apart. And they're waiting everywhere like we collecting cash from the air. Huh? They suck up with country, they suck up with country, God Lord. They suck up with country, they suck up with country, God Lord. Yes, music man, graphics man, acoustic man, sucking it. Live acting, they sucking it. Bootleggers, wicked buyers, them baby girls sucking it. Live acting, they sucking it dry. Man, we giving away accuracy for speed, all because of our greed. But in we know to fight with faith, now it's waste, man have to praise. They sucking up the country, they sucking the country dry, Lord. They sucking up the country, they sucking the country dry. Mama, why? Watch it. Leban sukunyaki, oh hey, leban sukunyak mama. You have red lavender in the pocket. Let me see your red lavender, let me see your red lavender. Hey, leban sukunyaki, oh hey, leban sukunyak mama. Watch it. Let me go. They sucking left, they sucking right, sucking day and night. All nationals could tell, politics got real hell. Oh, it brings me so much tension, it's dividing our nation. Well, it hurts me very well. All of our one another is right now in the quarter. The time that we waste hurting each other. They suck up the country, the blood of the country. Politicians, suck it up, greedy black man. Suck it up, they suck up with country, the blood of my country. Hey, hey, how do you look at? Hey, Reban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Reban Sukuyaki. Anybody with some red agenda? Walk across a Baba stand, walk across a galley. We stopping them, they say. Reban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Reban Sukuyaki. Look it. Hey, let me go. They sucking left, they sucking right, anything in sight. I always understood that the country was doing good. Whoa! Parasite and leeches sucked up my country juices. Well, they sucked it very well. For their personal gain, you listen say over again. IMF never had to come down here to advise us on how we should take care. We shut up out to kill a fly flew away on the damn cow die. I wonder why. They suck up the country, they suck up the country dry, Lord. They suck up the country, they suck up the country dry. Oh, mama, why? Politicians sucking it, lazy black men with no ambition sucking it. Like vacuum, they suck it up. Civil servants, local merchants, look like who wants sucking it. Like vacuum, they sucking it dry. They're giving away accuracy for speed, all because of our greed. But in we no shoes fight we face, now it's waste man have to break. They sucking we country, they sucking we country, dry Lord. They sucking we country dry. Boom. Watch it. Evan Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Evan Sukuyaki. Going by you. I need some holy water and a big piece of bomb. We're smoking them. We're coming through. Evan Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Evan Sukuyaki, mama. Hey, let me go. They're sucking left, they're sucking right, anything inside. The last which I could tell, local music was selling well. Whoa. But the local music shops pirating wouldn't stop. Well, they pirating me well. To record we go through load while they sit down, relax and burn. Like some people just don't have a heart. While they're trying to tear musicians apart. And they're waiting every year like we collecting cash from the air. Living They suck up we country, they suck up we country, right, Lord. They suck up we country, they suck up we country, right, Lord. Yes, music man, graphics man, acoustic man, sucking it, like up in the sucking it. Bootleggers, wicked buyers, them will illegal, sucking it. Like a criminal sucking it dry. Man, we giving away accuracy for speed. All because of our greed. But in we know to spike we face. Now it's waste, man have to brace. They sucking up the country, they sucking the country dry, Lord. They sucking up the country, they sucking the country dry. Mama, why? Watch it. Levan sukunyaki, oh yeah, levan sukunyak, mama. Your red lavender in the pocket. Let me see your red lavender, let me see your red lavender. Hey, levan sukunyaki, oh yeah, levan sukunyak, mama. Watch it. Let me go. They sucking left, they sucking right, sucking day and night. All nationals could tell, politics but the real hell. Oh. It brings me so much tension, it's dividing our nation. Well, it hurts me very well. All of our one another is right now in the quarter. The time that we waste hurting each other, let me join hands to push our country further. We could change the leader every year, and go nowhere if we are changing here. I want you. Hey, they suck up with country, they suck up with country, try blood. They suck up with country, they suck up with country, blood. Malicious people, self-centered people, small-minded people, sucking it, like a king is sucking, desperate people, evil people, greedy people, sucking it, like a king is sucking it up. We're giving away accuracy for speed, all because of our greed. But in we know to spike we face, now it's way man have to brace. They're sucking up the country, they're sucking up the country, child, lad. They're sucking up the country, sucking up the country, child. Looking nice. Well, they're sucking at them. Where they sucking crew on them, where they sucking crew on them. Hey, we're mashing up the place. Get you guys, you're right up and up with flying tonight. Look at that, looking good. When they sucking crew on them, when they sucking crew on them. Looking nice. We start